Sydney Wang from New South Wales. He'll be our first rider to try and qualify for the Junior Men's 15 Sprint. Now, we've had a change of channel for our live feed. You can now go on to the YouTube AusCycling page. So the YouTube AusCycling page, if you subscribe there, won't cost you anything. That's where our live feed will be shown, and that's going to be shown on YouTube for the rest of our 6 days here at the Meares Velodrome. So go to AusCycling YouTube, and you'll be able to see today's coverage for the juniors and, of course, for all of our weekend racing as well. If you go on to results.auscycling.org.au, you'll be able to get the live results as Sydney Wang builds up the pace here. The junior men's 15s as he heads down the back, looking to set the fastest time here. Put the challenge out to the rest of the field to see if they can better him as he goes through now. Sydney will stop the clock. 12.326. Nice ride from Sydney there in the junior 15s. Next rider out onto the track, rider number 11 is Cooper Finkboner from New South Wales. Cooper moving nicely through the 200 as he heads down the back straight. Of course, all of our junior cyclists in these age groups all going to look very smooth on these very small gears that they have to ride. On the restricted gears will come up, stop the clock, 12.797 for Cooper. Our next rider on the track now, another one of our New South Wales riders. The number 10 saddlecloth is Rab Drummond from New South Wales. The Rab coming into the home straight this time, starting to build up pace nicely. As I said before, our juniors ride on a restricted gear, so with the banking and everything, as you can see the way the legs are going around, it doesn't take too much to get right on top of that gear. The secret of success here is being able to hang on to the rev rate as they go into the home straight. Rab Drummond going to stop the clock, 12.817. So New South Wales riders set some nice times to start off with. Our next rider will be Ben Coates from New South Wales, rider number 9. Ben Coates really getting the bike moving now, looking very quick through the 200 here. Is this going to be a challenge to the fastest time here today so far? A little bit all over the track down the back straight, up onto the red line, above the red line. The effort is apparent, there's no doubt about it. 12.549, second fastest time of the day for Ben Coates. Nice ride. Really made an effort down the back straight. Had troubles keeping the bike perfectly straight. We welcome the next of our riders out on to the track, and it's our Queensland rider. This is Bodhi Dusha. Let's see what our Queensland crowd can do here as Bodhi comes into the home straight. This time going to hear the bell. Try and set the fastest time that they can. Nice line into the 200 metres here. Home track as he heads down the back straight. Nice and smooth as he comes into the home straight. They're going to stop the clock. 14.08 for Bodhi, the first national championships for them. The next of our Queensland cyclists out on track now is rider number 36, Christopher Mullins. Let's make some noise for Chris as he comes into the home straight. A Queenslander building up pace nicely here. Perfect line as he goes into the 200 into the back straight. Legs going a million mile an hour. Nice and smooth. Riding a nice line inside the red line perfectly well into the home straight. Let's see what Chris can finish off the clock with here. 12.716 goes to third fastest for now. A nice start to their competition. Our next rider is rider number 58 from South Australia. This is Ben Cade. Ben Cade now building up pace as he comes into the home straight. Well and truly getting on top of that gear straight away. Moving nicely down the back straight. Had a little bit of trouble holding the bike straight. Was on top of the gear that quickly. That's what we see with junior cycling. It's getting on top of the gears easy. Holding on to it's another thing altogether, but Ben Cade's done a good job. 12.645 for Ben Cade. The next rider out onto the track in the new Victorian colours is rider number 86. This is Lockie Stewart. Lockie Stewart building up pace nicely. Crouching down over the bike, well and truly on top of the gear as he bounces around on the saddle. Smooth through the 200 though. Just going to try and hang on to that gear ratio down the back straight here, Lockie Stewart. Down to the line, stops the clock. 13.291 for the junior men's 15. Move on to our next rider from Tasmania. This is rider number 74 on our programs, Thomas Blaisley. Young Tasmanian nicely through the 200. Always got a good crop of track cyclists coming out of Tasmania over the years as Blaisley comes into the home straight this time. Thomas Blaisley going to stop the clock. 13.077. Now move on to what should be our final rider. Representing Western Australia, rider 104. This is Patrick Chubkowski. Just over halfway through our field of junior men's 15s here. And Sydney Wang, who was the first rider out on track, still top of the leaderboard in a 12.326. It's a nice way to start your competition. First rider out. And still be sitting in the hot seat this deep into the field is Patrick Chubkowski from Western Australia. Using the banking nicely. Smooth down the back straight, well and truly just wringing the neck of that gear. Shepkowski into the home straight. Where can he stop the clock? It's going to be close. 12.759 for Patrick Chubkowski. Next rider out on track, just heading underneath our scoreboard, rider 57. This is William Brown from South Australia. Will Brown really building the speed from a very long way out here. Dives down into the 200. Will Brown down the back straight, really moving sharpish. Let's see how he goes through the final 200, the final 100 of this 200. Will Brown into the home straight. Going nicely, going to stop the clock. Second fastest so far, 12.425. Sydney Wang still sits atop of the leaderboard. We move on to rider number 82 out on track now from Victoria as he heads down the back straight. This is Chase Hadden. Chase Hadden looking very cool, calm and collected. He's just started to build up. Now he's underway in the home straight. Going down very early there into the 200 now. Smooth down the back straight though, Chase Hadden. Really moving nicely. Big cheer from the Victorian team from the inside of the track there as they come into the home straight now. Where can Chase finish off? Fourth fastest so far, 12.584 for Chase Hadden. The next rider out on the track with the number 1 saddlecloth here in this competition. Representing the ACT is Angus Whittington. Angus building up pace nicely as he goes through the 200 now. See how he hangs on to the last 100 here. He's gone through the first part. Fastest time so far through the first 100. Can Angus Whittington take out the time here? Third fastest, 12.529. So Sydney Wang, it's lonely at the top. Still the fastest time so far. As our next rider out onto the track is rider number 35 representing Queensland. Please welcome Sam Hilditch. Here comes Sam. What can he do here? The whole of Queensland cheering him as he goes through 200. 12.326 is the fastest time of the day. He goes through the fastest time for the first 100. What can Sam do here as he finishes off up the home straight? Just outside. Second fastest, but so close. Sam Hilditch gets himself up to the top of the leaderboard. The next rider out onto the track is rider number 59 from South Australia, and this is Hunter Wood. Hunter Wood, what can he do here? Can anyone get the top spot off Sydney Wang here this morning? South Australia out on track. Hunter Wood high up on the track down the back straight. Let's see what he can do. He went through the fastest time. We've seen a bit of that in the back straight. Fastest time through the 100. What's he going to finish off? Fastest time of the morning, 12.241 for Hunter Wood. Rider number 83 is Oliver Jerovic from Victoria. This is our final rider to come out on the track in the junior men's qualifying for the sprint. Hunter Wood is the fastest time, 12.241, a great time for a junior men's 15 category. Let's see what Oliver can do here as he builds up pace into the home straight. Finishing off now, second fastest, 12.317 on the scoreboard. We'll wait for the official time, but I'd say Hunter Wood from South Australia will be our fastest qualifier in the junior men's 15 sprint qualifying with a time of 12.241. So we move straight into our junior men's 17 sprint qualifying. We welcome onto the track rider 106, saddlecloth from Western Australia. This is Billy Somerville. "19 riders in all for the junior men's 17 qualifier as Billy Somerville comes into the home straight. Starts building up the pace. You can see the difference in the gear ratios with these guys. Billy Somerville smoothly through the 200. Let's see where he can stop the clock through the first 100. 5.96 through the first 100. Strong through the last 50 metres here for Billy Somerville. He'll stop the clock 11.992. So our first rider under the 12-second mark here today. And for now, Billy Somerville will sit at the top of the leaderboard. That's a nice time, 11.99. Next rider out on track is from Tasmania. Rider number 76 is Nicholas Broxham. So Nick Broxham from Tasmania. Next rider to try and set a time here. Got to get inside 12 seconds if he wants to go to the top of the leaderboard. Fastest through the first 100 here, quicker than Billy Somerville. Smooth up the home straight. Where's he going to stop the clock? 11.886. Faster again already. The Tasmanian goes to the top spot on the leaderboard. Welcome our next rider out onto the track from Western Australia. The 108 is Christopher Wright. So Chris Wright out of the saddle now, building up the pace as he comes into the home straight. Through the 200 nicely now. Chris Wright down the back straight, moving sharply. We'll have a look at the first 100, see where he sits. Sits very quick indeed, Chris Wright through the first 100. Can he hang on to this pace up to the line? He can indeed. 11.856 goes to top spot there for Chris Wright. The next rider from Tasmania with the saddlecloth of number 80 is Jonas Shelvin. So Chris Wright leaves the track in the top spot for now. Once again, nothing between our riders. 11.85, 11.88, 11.99 for our first three so far. Great opportunity for all of these riders. The quickest track in Australia, the Meares Velodrome. Seen some fantastic national championship competitions here, as well as the Commonwealth Games, Brisbane World Cup and 6-day cycling. Of course, the national championships all part of the Brisbane Cycling Festival here. As Jonas goes through, what can he do here? We'll look to see what the first 100 metres does. They're all very quick through there. Fastest time once again here. Let's see where Jonas can stop the clock. He comes up to the line now. 11.687, top spot for Jonas Shelvin. They just keep getting quicker here. Our next rider, also from Tasmania, rider number 79. This is Dylan Rogers. Dylan Rogers building up speed nicely here, the Tasmanian. Goes into the 200, looking to beat a time of 11.687. Set by his teammate through the first 100, a little bit slower. Let's see if he can be strong in the home straight and bring it home here. He'll go to the line, 12.048 for Dylan. Still nothing between the times, a little bit slower, but nothing between these riders. Move on to our next man coming out onto the track from the ACT. Rider number 7, this is Hadden Stevens. 11.687, fastest so far. We've got 19 riders in this field. We've only seen 5 or 6 go through so far, so expect to see some fast times here from our junior men's 17s. Welcome to everybody who's joining us on the AusCycling YouTube page right around the country. And of course, feel free to send that out all around the world. I'm sure there's some grandparents and so forth, possibly some mums and dads working overseas who would love to be able to see this vision of our national championships. Just a quick text message, get them onto the AusCycling YouTube channel. And of course, during the national championships, we'll also have Scott McGorry and Kate Bates doing the live feed each night. So a lot to look forward here, part of the Brisbane Cycling Festival. Hadden Stevens down the back straight, looking very smooth indeed. Right on the point of the saddle, goes through the first 100, a little bit off the pace at the moment, but it's smooth just the same. He'll stop the clock, 11.931. Still inside that 12-second mark. That's where you'd like to be as a junior under 17s. Then we move on to our Queensland rider now. Into the home straight, rider number 45. This is Mitchell Louis. Come on, Queensland crowd. That's a Queenslander out on track. Where's the cheering? That's more like it. There'll be a test later. So Mitchell Louis will come to the home straight with 2 to go this time. Riders just take the time to compose themselves in this first lap and a half. Now the crowds are starting to get into it. Compose themselves for that first lap and a half. Think about the job at hand. And then they'll start to build up pace, using the banking wherever they can just to make the bike go that bit faster and save the legs. Mitchell Louis out of the saddle now. Home track advantage here for the Queenslander. Let's see what he can do with it. Perfect line into the 200 as he heads down the back straight. Mitchell Louis. Let's see how he goes through the first 100. Third fastest at the moment. We've seen some strong finishes. Mitchell Louis looking to get under 12 seconds here and does so. 11.859 with the third fastest ride of the day. Now, a new rider once again from Queensland out on track. Rider number 48. This is Caden Ruff. So Caden Ruff down the back straight now, starting to build up pace. You just don't want to go too early on these restricted gears. You want to use that little bit of explosion into the home straight. Now Caden getting out of the saddle, moving nicely. Through the 200 now, Caden Ruff moves down the back straight. Right on top of that gear. We'll see where he is on the first 100. A little bit off the pace. He's got to make some moves up the home straight this time for Caden Ruff. Hits the line, 12.350 for Caden Ruff. Kai Arbery is the rider out on the track now from South Australia. Rider number 62. He's rolling himself down the back straight, getting composed, starting to think about the job at hand. Fastest time of the day still sits with Jonas Shelvin from Tasmania with a time of 11.687. Kai Arbery, the rider, building up pace now into the home straight from South Australia. Let's see what Kai can do here. Let's see if he can get himself up into that top 2 or 3. And the head down nicely down the back straight. Fastest time through the 100 so far in a 5.72. Where's he going to stop the clock? 11.656, fastest time of the morning so far for Kai Arbery, just inside the time of Jonas Shelvin. Good ride there from Kai. We welcome our next rider out onto the track from New South Wales. This is Liam Goldman. Liam Goldman, New South Wales, brings himself into the home straight this time. Those joining us around the country and around the world, this is our junior men's 17 200-metre sprint qualifying as Liam Goldman heads down the back straight. Nice and smooth. We'll see where the first 100 goes. 5.86, sort of middle field at the moment. Let's see how strong he is up the home straight. He'll stop the clock. Beautifully done, 11.787, third fastest for Liam Goldman so far. Nice and strong over the last 100 metres there. Welcome his teammate onto the track now. This is rider number 22. This is Joe Sassai. Joe Sosso down the back straight this time, building up pace nicely. Looks very smooth on that gear, hugging the fence line. Joe gets out of the saddle. Looks like a big, strong, powerful rider here. Joe down the back straight. Let's see what he can do. Sits right back on the saddle like he's on a huge gear, but he's not. He's on restricted gears. 5.78, second fastest through the first 100. How's he going to finish it off? Finishes off nicely. 11.73 for the third fastest so far today. Jamison Key is the new rider out on track as he just goes underneath the scoreboard. Jamison Key representing South Australia. I must say the new designs of each state's different jerseys is superb for a commentator. Very easy to identify when they all, especially in the bunch racing later to come, all the different states. South Australia, red, blue and yellow. Jameson Key building up pace now. Needs to be around the 11.6, 11.7 mark by the looks of things to get himself up into the top end of this field. Still a number of riders still to come. Fastest time so far through the first 100. Let's see where Jameson can finish off here. Fastest time of the day. I said 11.6, 11.7. He's gone and made a liar of me. 11.568 for Jameson Key. Round of applause from the crowd there for Jameson. Fastest time so far, 11.568. A new rider onto the track is from the ACT, the bright yellow and blue colours. Rider number 4, Bailey Mcdonald, joins us in the home straight now with 2 to go. Bailey Mcdonald out of the saddle nicely. 11.56 to beat here to get to the top of the leaderboard. And Bailey's moving very nicely down the back straight. Through the first 100, fastest time, only ever so slightly though. How's he going to finish off? Finishes off beautifully, 11.562. He goes to the top of the leaderboard. Nothing between the top 2 times. 6 thousandths of a second between our fastest 2 so far today. Round of applause for Bailey as he goes onto the Côte d'Azur. Fastest time so far. Move on to rider number 5 in the back straight now. Another one of our ACT riders. This is Edward Marks. Ed Marks through the 200 now. Let's see what he can do. One of the taller riders here in this group. Goes through, fastest time again through the first 100. Let's see how he hangs on to it in the home straight. Fastest time again, 11.275. on junior 17 gears. What a great ride there from Ed Marks. The next rider representing Victoria, rider number 96, is Oscar Gallagher. Got the pace on very early here, has Oscar. He's not going to die wondering about getting on top of that gear. Out of the saddle this time. Gallagher goes in nice and early down onto the pole line. Into the back straight, looking very smooth at the moment. We'll see where he goes through the first 100. Midway through the field for Oscar Gallagher. A sensational time to need to beat as he'll go across the line. Still with a nice time, 11.818 for Oscar Gallagher. The next rider from South Australia, rider number 67, is Tate Ryan. Tate Ryan building up pace nicely here, the South Australian. Fastest time of the day, sits in the 11.2s. Everyone else sitting around 11.6, 11.7. See what Tate can go through. Fastest time through the 100. Let's see what Tate Ryan can finish off with as he goes down, hits the line, 11.313. How fast are these kids here this morning? Fantastic ride there from Tate Ryan. $11.313 for Tate Ryan, puts him to second spot at the moment. Our new rider out on track is Jack Edwards, number 94, from Victoria. Jack Edwards out of the saddle, looking very smooth as he builds up pace nicely. Goes in very early, down to the bottom of the track, moving nicely though as he hits the back straight now. Let's see where Jack can go through the first 100. Second fastest so far. But I tell you what, they're very quick at the top of the tree here this morning, 11.363. Great time from Jack Edwards. That will put him to third place for now. Two more riders still to come, both from New South Wales. We welcome onto the track rider number 17. This is Xavier Bland. Xavier Bland building up pace very nicely indeed, right at the top of the Velodrome, hugging the fence line. Going to use all the track to get himself moving here. Dives in, he's underway through the 200. Full speed through the 200. Now just has to try and hang on to it. Moving nicely. Let's have a look at the 100. Third fastest so far. Hang on to it into the home straight. Let's see where he can stop the clock. 11.349 for Xavier Bland. Once again, a superb time here. Puts himself up into third place. We've got one rider to come in our junior men's 17 qualifying. And this will be rider number 21 from New South Wales. This is Noah Mason. So Ed Marks is the fastest of the day so far, 11.275 from the ACT. Noah Mason, can he put himself to the top of the leaderboard? Moving nicely through the 200 here. We'll have a look to see where he is on the 100 time. The 100 time is going to be okay because he is flying. Fastest time of the day for the first 100 here. Noah Mason, where's he going to stop the clock? 11.072. A fantastic ride there from Noah Mason, 072. Top of the leaderboard for Noah Mason. We move on to event number 7. This is our junior men's 15s sprint. Round number 1. This is heat number 1 when we have Hunter Wood up against Bodhi Dusha, with the winners going through to the quarter final. So Bodhi Dusha from Queensland, Hunter Wood, fastest qualifier. We'll come through with 2 laps to go. Just keeping a good eye on each other. Hunter quite happy just to control the bottom of the track at the moment. Just comes up a little bit so he doesn't run the risk of getting dive bomb here from Bodhi. Washes off the pace, a little lap and a half to go for them. They'll come to the home straight this time and get the bell. Fastest qualifier, South Australia, up against the local boy from Queensland. Hunter Wood just accelerates now. Wants to get himself through to the quarterfinals as comfortably as he possibly can. Has a look over the shoulder. You can see the difference in this age division between the fastest qualifier and the rest. And Hunter Wood will come across the line and go through to the quarterfinals. He takes that one out over the top of Bodie. So the top 16 qualify for round number 1. So that was our fastest qualifier against our 16th fastest qualifier. We'll now move on to round number 2, or heat number 2 of round 1. It's all Victorian affair, this one. Rider number 83 is Oliver Jerevic, and rider number 86 is Lockie Stewart. Rider number 83, Oliver, the fastest qualifier between these two. They'll know each other pretty well from racing against each other in Victoria, as Oliver leads away. Don't forget, we are live streaming on the AusCycling YouTube channel. Part of the Brisbane Cycling Festival here for 2022. Fantastic to be back in Queensland. It's been a couple of years for myself, not since the Brisbane World Cup. So lovely to be able to come back to the Meares Velodrome and call the racing and see the riders. And well done to AusCycling Queensland and all associated clubs with everything Brisbane's had to go through over the last month or so with the floods. Well done to everyone around the place who has made a real effort to get the riders all sorted and out on track, as Lockie Stewart takes the element of surprise here. He knows Oliver's got a little bit more punch over the last 200, but he's going to make Oliver work for it. He's not going to make it easy for him. And Lockie goes into the 200. Oliver looking quite comfortable. He'll know his rider as they head down the back straight. Lockie Stewart took the race up to Oliver. Oliver now gets up round the outside. Has a look under the shoulder to see where his teammate is, and he will go through to the quarterfinals. Good contest there. We welcome our next heat out onto the track, representing Sydney, New South Wales. Sorry, representing New South Wales is Sydney Wang. Representing Tasmania is Tom Blaisley. And of course, Sydney Wang sat at the top of the leaderboard for a very long time here this morning. He was the first one to go out into qualifying and sat in the hot seat for most of the morning. So New South Wales versus Tasmania for this one. This is the third fastest qualifier against the 14th. It's all on the same gear ratio. So our juniors ride on a restricted gear, all part of development of young bodies and so forth. So anything can happen in a two-up sprint, especially on junior gears like this, as Tom Blaisley is going to take on the challenge here against Sydney Wang as they head down the back straight. Sydney gets up into the slipstream quite comfortably. Doesn't want to step out just yet. 1 lap to go now. Tasmania versus New South Wales. It's going to be a drag race around the outside. Sydney Wang goes into the 200, gets himself clear now. He's going to get himself into the quarterfinal quite comfortably. It's good to see the Tasmanian taking on the challenge though, a lap and a half out. Just mixing it up a little bit. Sydney Wang will go through nicely into the quarterfinals. Welcome heat number 4 onto the track. Please welcome, representing New South Wales, Rab Drummond. Representing Queensland, Sam Hilditch. Hilditch, the fastest qualifier of the two. The New South Welshman starting in second position. Doesn't mean he has to stay there. Came out of the blocks quite smoothly. Looked like he was going to try and just take on the front position. Sam Hilditch, though, going to fight him for it initially as they head round the bend now. Hilditch not too worried about front spot at the moment. Quite happy to drop in behind. Rab Drummond now. Going to use the track. Going to show the Queenslander his own track here a little bit as they start the tactics. Hilditch very, very close behind the wheel here. Not giving himself too much room to be offering the element of surprise. Rab Drummond's going to make it a long one here. See what Sam Hilditch has got. Sam Hilditch with the faster of the two in the qualifiers. Rab Drummond really making pace as they went through the 200. They head down the back straight now. Hilditch up round the outside over the hip of Rab Drummond. Good contest here between the two, but Hilditch has the edge and Hilditch will go through to the quarterfinals. Move on to heat number 5. And welcome rider number 11 from New South Wales, which is Cooper Finkboner. He's going up against Will Brown from South Australia. Will Brown was the faster of the two in qualifying. A few different tactics being employed in this one. Good riding there by Cooper. Just backing off the pace, making Will Brown think about what his opponent's going to be doing as they head down the back straight this time. Bottom of the track, building up pace. Cooper leads from Will. Will right up onto the slipstream now as they come up with 1 lap to go. Into the 200. Will leading strongly. Cooper comes at him now, going to get the run off the banking down the back straight. Everything going to plan at the moment for the faster seeds as Will Brown will come into the home straight. Comfortable winner of heat number 5. So Will Brown will go through to the quarterfinals. Start to move into the last few rides here now. We'll start to get a little bit closer on times from qualifying. So we've still got 6 versus 11, 7 versus 10 and 8 versus 9 to come for this round of sprinting to see who'll go through to the quarters. Move on now to heat number 6. Coming out onto the track, representing Western Australia, is Patrick Chubkowski, and representing the ACT is Angus Whittington. Shepkowski's drawn front spot and will ride off. Angus Whittington, the faster qualifier. Whittington just dictating terms a little bit here to the West Australian, keeping him high on the track. Now they get underway as Whittington, faster qualifier, down the back straight, moving nicely. Chubkowski going with him though. There's a little bit between these two, but too strong from the front here, it looks like, for Angus Whittington, and he'll go through to the quarterfinals. As we can see, as we get through the heats, the times come together a little bit closer from qualifying, so we'll see just slight tighter competitions, and that should continue in this next one. We have heat number 7, so it's 7 versus 10 in the qualifying. New South Wales, Ben Coates comes up onto the track. He's the faster qualifier of these two. Our other rider representing Queensland is Chris Mullins. Chris Mullins dictating terms as they go through with 2 to go. Ben Coates not leaving any room for error here as he's glued right up to the back wheel of Chris Mullins as they head down the back straight. Mullins doing the right thing, having a good look over his shoulder. Needs to give himself a bit more space here. There goes the jump from Ben Coates as they come into the home straight. Coates the faster qualifier. Mullins wasn't too far off that time as they go through the 200. What can Chris Mullins do from here? He's right in the slipstream. It's one thing to get the slipstream. It's something entirely different to try and get out of it. Well, they come into the home straight. Ben Coates will cross the line. It was a good race from the Queenslander, but the New South Welshman will go through to the quarterfinals. So we have one more heat to come. This is 8 versus 9, representing Victoria. Now, 8th fastest qualifier. This is Chase Hadden, rider number 82, ladies and gentlemen. He's going up against rider 58 from South Australia, Benjamin Cade. So Ben Cade leads the way through. Not quite at the bottom of the track, so he's got a little bit of room there to use the banking to pick up pace. So covering the track nicely. Chase Hadden, though, the faster of the two in qualifying, but, well, you put a piece of tissue between the two of them, though, that close. Cade, the South Australian, leads through. Look at this nice move, though, from the Victorian Chase Hadden. Committed early and committed nicely. All the work to do for Ben Cade down the back straight. It's not over just yet. But it's so hard to come back on these restricted gears once somebody has the jump. They go to the line. Chase Hadden will take that one out. Good tactical sprinting there from Chase Hadden. That brings to a close our round one of our junior men's sprint. The next event on our program will be the first event of the junior men's Omnium. So bear with us if you're online. We'll go a bit silent for a while. If you're joining us at the track, don't forget the canteen's open for coffees and so forth. Make your way over there for some refreshments. So Noah Mason leads through this time as they come up with one to go in front of Hadden Stevens. Noah Mason leading down the back straight. Just comes off the track a little bit there. Moving very quickly indeed, comfortably through. Noah Mason takes that one out. So we're moving into, as you can see, our junior men's sprint round number one. This is our 17s. First heat, Noah Mason, our fastest qualifier, was against Hadden Stevens from the ACT. We now move on to heat number two. This is Ed Marks up against Nicholas Broxham from Tasmania. Ed Marks from the ACT. So Mark's the faster qualifier. The top three or four were absolutely lightning quick in the junior men's 17s qualifier here this morning. 11.02, I think the fastest time, which of course was Noah Mason. Then it was 11.2, 11.3, so they really are moving, these junior riders. And you put in perspective that they are also on restricted gears, which makes it extremely difficult to do those sorts of times. So it just tells you what sort of leg speed we're dealing with. And Mark's not really taking the challenge here, not getting a challenge here too much from Nick Broxham. Broxham quite happy to save the legs for the next one by the looks of it, because Ed Marks will take that one out comfortably. Big day of racing for our 17s and 15 riders here today. Omnium's individual pursuits, sprints for both junior women and junior men throughout the program, a mix of different events. Nick Broxham quite happy, saving the legs for the next one by the looks of it. So we'll see more of him today, no trouble at all. We move on to our next one, and this will be heat number three. We've got Tate Ryan from South Australia coming out onto the track. He'll be going up against Mitchell Louis from Queensland. Tate Ryan leading the way, just keeping an eye on where Mitchell Louis is on the track. Ryan, the faster of the two qualifiers here. But not taking any chances here, Tate Ryan. Give you a good eye, showing some respect to the Queenslander here. Keeping a good eye on what's going on as he's building up the pace from the front. Mitchell Louis giving the impression that he was going to try and run at him. Tate Ryan goes from the front through the 200 down the back straight. Louis up onto the wheel, no trouble at all. Tate Ryan was still with some work to do through the 100. Louis up into the slipstream beautifully. Not going to have the legs to come off the wheel, but there's a good ride by the Queenslander. But Tate Ryan will go through to the next round, no trouble at all. Move on to heat number 4. A faster qualifier of the two is from New South Wales, and that's Xavier Bland, and he'll be going up against Chris Wright from Western Australia. No pace on whatsoever down the back straight here from Xavier Bland. Just keeping a good eye on where Chris Wright is. Xavier Bland doing nicely here, controlling the tempo, dictating terms in this sprint match against the West Australian. Xavier, 4th fastest qualifier, so down in the 11.3s. Nice ride. Chris Wright was quick as well, around 11.8. Tried to get out of the box there nicely, was doing a good job of it. Xavier Bland equal to the task. Xavier Bland now decides to make it a long sprint. Moving nicely as they go through the 200. Chris Wright not able to get into the slipstream there. Xavier Bland heads for home, heads for a quarterfinal spot here. Going nicely. Xavier Bland will go across. Chris Wright, good ride for second. Good contest here for Chris, but Xavier Bland will go through an 11.55 for that one as well. It's good to see the times still very quick here for our junior men. Move on to heat number 5. Representing Victoria, we have number 94 is Jack Edwards. And number 96 is Oscar Gallagher. Jack Edwards being the faster qualifier of the two. So Oscar Gallagher leads the way through. keeping the pace on a little bit here in front of Jack Edwards. Jack Edwards the faster of the two qualifiers as they head down the back straight. And Meares Velodrome just starting to warm up here today. Bit of a lack of attention there just for a split second. Allows the opportunity for Jack Edwards to get up round the outside of Oscar. Tactics were perfect up till then, but Jack Edwards just a little bit too strong this time as he comes into the home straight and will go across the line in first place. And he'll find his way through to the quarterfinals. No? Yes? These two? Oh. Maybe they're on timer. Maybe. I don't know. So we welcome heat number 6 out onto the track now. This will be Bailey Mcdonald from the ACT going up against Liam Goldman from New South Wales. Bailey being the faster qualifier, but he's drawn spot number 2 for this ride. Liam Goldman leads the way in front of Bailey McDonald. New South Wales versus the ACT. So these guys will know each other very well. Now racing in Queensland on the Meares Velodrome. Lifting the pace early here, Liam. Going nicely. Let's see what he can do from here. Putting the pressure on Bailey, making Bailey McDonald work for it here as they go through the 200 and head down the back straight. Good contest here from Liam on the inside. Bailey McDonald, faster qualifier, up round the outside. Oh, it's going to be close to the line, but McDonald holds true to the seeding and will go through to the quarterfinals. Heat number 7 coming out onto the track now. This is Jameson Key from South Australia going up against Joe Sauce of New South Wales. Jameson Key dictating terms here. Heat number 7 versus 10. So we're starting to get a little bit closer in these ones, like we saw with the junior men 15s. So Jameson out of the saddle. No pressure too much on him. Still having a look underneath the saddle. Going to have to get going, but he's on top of that gear nicely. Now this is a controlled ride here from Key. Nicely done indeed. Did not panic at all. Dictated terms the whole way through. That was a great ride there from the South Aussie. So we'll move on to the final heat of round number 1. This is 8 versus 9, and this will be the faster qualifier. Rider 62 is Kai Arbery from South Australia, and he's going up against rider number 80 from Tasmania. This is Jonas Shelvin. So 8 versus 9. This is the closest heat that we'll see of this round of sprinting. Let's see if you can take the final quarter-final spot here of our junior men's 17s. You'll see the next group of junior men's 17s all circling the infield, because after this one we'll be moving on to the junior men's 17 Omnium, the first one. So if they're doing all the racing, there's a number of riders who can have sore legs by the end of the day. A packed program for our riders. But what a superb venue to be able to ride a national championships in. World Cups, Commonwealth Games, 6-day cycling series, all taken place already in this very young venue. And we've seen some world records set. Just laying off possibly just a little bit too much that time, the Tasmanian. Going to get himself a little bit closer now. Arbery leads the way. Shelvin just laying off. Arbery didn't take advantage of it, didn't need to. They head down the back straight this time. Arbery leads the way. What can Shelvin do from here? Has he left it too far? I think he may have. He's going to try and run home to him, but he laid off such a long way. Here he comes to the line. Oh, nothing between them in the end. But Shelvin was only able to get to the bottom bracket of Arbery. Arbery will go through into the next round of sprinting.